Matt, do you ever feel like they kind of put us at the kiddie table down
That's what they
there?
said. We're the rookies, so they have to kick us
they just
out.
kind of,
It's called seniority. Yeah, exactly.
I have other terms for it, yeah.
I felt the same way.
Hate to break the news to you, Dave, but I've probably been called all of those.
I think we probably all have.
Oh, dear.
Okay, Callie, are you ready? Jim, are you ready? Jim, are you ready? Matt, are you ready? David, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Cleve, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got 1 minute.
Now, I noticed they fixed the clock.
Huh?
Clock set.
Hopefully we won't be going back to daylight savings. Did they ever? I haven't heard.
Congress has to pass it now.
Yeah,
Congress, it's ridiculous.
I know. Well, hopefully it'll pass, because I don't want to go back.
Well, and then how many other states there has to be?
I think it,
Yeah.
yeah, it's several around you and then Congress. It's ridiculous.
I mean, there's no
I
way.
wonder how Arizona got it on, 'cause they
They
never
never
changed.
did. In Hawaii.
Yeah, in Hawaii, there's like 4 of them that don't change.
I'll just say there's no update on that.
Test, test, test.
In ours.
Is it on, Callie? Is it on? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, oh, I'll just do that.
Let me ask you first. You got that right in the dog. I actually, you know, just talking about moving forward with you. Okay.
So,
That's all I have.
okay, so no new updates then on? He does have an update?
It could be a quick one,
So we'll turn that over to you then.
Right now?
No, I mean, when that comes up.
We just got
Keep you on your toes.
Item number 6 is gonna appear every week. It'll be quick. Things kick off after the agendas get posted, and then we'll be able to
Yeah.
address it.
Okay, so we'll turn that over to you then, Chief, when it comes up. Okay, we'll go ahead and call, Go ahead and call a Parowan City Council meeting for May 28th, 2020 to order. So we have something a little bit different for our prayer. We've actually been contacted by Rajan Zed, who is the president of the Universal Society of Hinduism, that actually asked if we would play a pre-recorded invocation. And so we're going to play that now, and then when it's done, I'll go ahead and do the pledge.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, City of Parowan. I am Rajan Zed. I am president of Universal Society of Hinduism. I shall be reading in Sanskrit from ancient Hindu scriptures, from as old as 1500 BCE, and then interpret in English. Bhuvah Swaha Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Bhavasya Dhimahim Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. We meditate on the transcendental glory of the Deity Supreme, who is inside the heart of the earth, inside the life of the sky, and inside the soul of the heaven. May He stimulate and illuminate our minds. Astoma Sadgama, Gamsoma Jyotirgama, Jyotir Mamratam Gama. Lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, lead us from death to immortality. Usmada Satta Stapan Karan Karma Samachara, Asatya Vacharan Karma Karma Gunati Purusha, Karma Neva Hi Samsiddhi Natrita Gunkagya, Loka Sangraha Mevati Santa Shankar Pugrahasi. Strive constantly to serve the welfare of the world, a devotion to selfless, one attain the supreme goal of life. Do your work with the welfare of others always in mind. Om Saha Nagavati, Saha Nadanakti, Saha Gurin Karbavai, Jasminaya Dupamastu, Navit Nishavahai. May we be protected together, may we be nourished together, may we work together with great vigor, may our study be enlightening, may no obstacle arise between us. Samniva Akuti, Samna Hidaniva, Samnamastu Vomano, Yatava Susahasti. Noted your resolve, noted your heart, may your spirits be at one, that you may long together dwell in unity and concord. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, if I can get everybody to rise and follow me in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'd like to thank Rajan Zed for his interest in reaching out to us and doing the invocation for our council meeting tonight, so thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Do we have any declarations of conflict or interest from council members?
No.
No. Okay. Also, at this time, I need to excuse Patty Vesley. She has been excused. And at this time, we would open the meeting up to any public comment, if anybody has anything. Okay. All right, we'll move on into the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve agenda items 1 through 3?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as outlined in the city council meeting agenda, items 1 through 3. Second.
Okay, do we have any discussion on any of these?
Second.
Point of information, Mayor, I was just curious, is everybody familiar with the minor lot split? What was Planning and Zoning Committee's recommending?
Is this on the agenda item number 3?
Is it Jensen's? Is it for Jensen's?
Yeah, number 3.
Okay.
Item number 3, excuse me.
Okay.
Dave, is it for Jensen's?
It's actually Larry, isn't it? It's next,
okay.
east of that
Okay.
Jens's,
Okay.
Electric on 2nd South and Hollyoak Lane.
So 2 prairie dogs are gonna own it now instead of 1?
Yeah, there might even be more, I don't know.
Okay.
But, he's splitting off what, about an acre?
1 acre.
And then he's leaving, 1.84? 84. And possibly that'll be split unless somebody buys it as a whole, right?
Right. He wants the option to sell that as a whole parcel for, because it touches the 1,000 west.
Okay. All right.
So any questions, to the Planning and Zoning Committee, or?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Okay.
And I had one other question on the warrant register. I just, Cleve, just for my information, that 7,600 and whatever for the concrete forms, where did that come from? Is that the fund that, you secured for the cemetery, or what?
That's part of the cemetery's state grant.
Right, that's what
Yes.
okay.
That $10,000 that we try and get every
You
year.
have to apply for it. We match it, it's a 50-50 match.
Okay.
So yes, that's where it came out.
That's where that came from, okay. And then just curious, maybe Kelly can answer this, where the repairs to that Bobcat, what exactly was that? The hydraulic pump? $4,400. Komatsu or whatever. Okay. I was just curious.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, since we have a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to action, item number 4, the fee schedule for resolution 2020-05-01.
Has everybody had a chance to review the fee schedule as it was presented?
Yes.
I'd like to remind the council, Jeremy would like to remind the council, he recommends that we keep the electric base rate at its current rate. And is there any other changes?
Oh, that was just a question I had, because I thought maybe that's what you suggested. Over here? I don't know.
That's what Jeremy suggested, that it stay.
Okay.
Cleve, we do need to make sure each year we do that same review, and so we do it a little bit at a time. Makes it easier. Yeah.
Yes, that's become the normal, at the end of every budget year to review the fee schedule.
Perfect.
I'd also like to point out, later on in your, work meeting, when we talk, quick discussion on item number 7, we can amend this fee schedule as soon as we get a policy and procedure if there's a recommendation for a fee change in the cemetery cost. So that does not have to be done immediately. It can continue as is until this is resolved with the new policy.
Yeah, that was a question I had when I came in and talked to you this morning. That would allow us to approve the fee schedule, get that out there, and then after our discussion on the cemetery, and that we can amend it. I wanted to make sure that we could amend that afterwards and clean.
Right, yes.
Yeah, that needs to be done.
So on this schedule, everything that was highlighted in red was the proposed changes and, or adding, additions to, which was the electrical bucket trucks, and so those were just additions.
Looks good.
Yeah, I think, not to beat a dead horse, but I think it's better for us to make, as Jim said, small incremental changes yearly rather than try and push through a 20 or a 15% increase.
Question I have, Cleve, is there any way, and this is for the staff's benefit as much as any, is there any way to itemize, what these increases are gonna be for the public, so that, they would understand?
Well, but they like for the water and electric, if we increase those go into the enterprise fund.
Right, but I mean specifically what they're gonna be for, though, in that.
Yes, it'd be like, so the base rate for a standard sewer connection would go from $26.29 to $27.21.
Oh, I understand that. So,
He wants to know where the money's gonna go.
now, can the public come and see this?
Once
so
it's,
that-
this fee schedule is available to the
So
public.
they can just look at this, and if there's a
Absolutely.
question, then the staff can just say, this is what,
This is the...
this is why.
Fee
'Cause
schedule.
I'm kinda concerned for the staff too, 'cause, they'll get,
They get beat up every year.
yeah, and so if there's some way they can, 'cause most people, if they understand, can see it. Most people have common sense and are reasonable, but
Right.
it's the unknown, so.
That's what we talked about when we did that $5, fee for
Surcharge.
Surcharge, thank you. People knew that was going for those 5G meters and stuff, and so you're right, that if we can say this is a reason, we've got maintenance cost increases, we've got...
What we could add to is, we have an upcoming newsletter, and we could publish all the changes. These would all be effective July 1. and so that would come in on the August bill.
Can you post something on the web page and stuff like that?
We could
I mean,
post all the changes that were made.
because, you know, if you do come in effect July, and then when they get their bills, everybody's gonna come in August and say, how come we're raised?
And then we would post, when does the newsletter come out? So the last Wednesday in June, so we could actually post something to the webpage sooner,
Yeah, because
an update.
my feeling on this is I would rather go small increments and then,
Oh, yeah.
then another 2 years do a great big one.
Mhm.
Just basically, and I talked to you a little bit this morning about it, just the cost of living is what it is just whatever prices are costing more. Curiosity, I didn't ask you this morning, when was the last time they've been raised on some of this stuff?
The sewer, I believe, the last time was 2009. 2009 on the sewer. Water, we're playing catch-up, was proposed to have a 15 last year, so they split it to a 7.5.
Last year and then
2
this year?
Yes.
So,
So
Yeah.
Matt, are you saying maybe we ought to increase the electric this year in that increment?
no, I would just say, we're going through the minutes last time, he was saying, Jeremy was saying that it was probably one of the higher
Right.
in the thing, and in which I agree. I'd say leave it alone, or we'll always have a little bit of a cushion there in that thing. But I'm saying each year, we need to make sure we're doing these little increments,
Mhm.
not waiting 2 or 3 years and do a huge one.
Just
No, I
make sure
agree,
that
Put
yeah.
burdens on some of these people that
And it
are
needs to
on
be-
fixed incomes.
Yeah, it needs to be reviewed every year.
Yes, it does.
That
It-
needs to be
I think it needs to be
addressed.
Yeah, because stuff does cost more,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's one.
Well, I'm just wondering if you thought maybe they ought to do that 3% this year.
No, as far as electrical,
Yeah,
no.
okay.
I think where he's got it set, you know, I'd say leave the rates there,
Mm-hmm.
but the base rate, you know, where he's got it changed in there, I think, yeah.
Yeah, the base rate would stay the same, he just didn't recommend any change on the power base
Yeah, the
rate.
base rate is basically when I talked about, it, so that people will know, that's just the meter, the equipment that you have on your home. That's
Mhm.
each month and stuff
That's
like
the-
that. That's not what rate, as the power.
The usage rate.
The usage, yes.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Do I have a motion to accept the fee schedule for resolution 2020-05-01?
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, go ahead.
I make a motion that we accept the fee schedule, resolution 2020-05-01.
I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Excuse me?
Oh, sorry.
Could you specify which one we discussed not doing the electrical? Could you add that in your motion, that we are not adjusting the electrical base rate?
We're just in the base rate.
We are not adjusting the electrical base rate.
Okay.
Everything else in the fee schedule will be the same, with the exception of,
Oh, so the fee schedule we had the increase.
everything in red, yes.
Yeah, okay,
That base rate is on there, but we're not doing,
We're not adjusting the base rate either. He would recommend the base rate stay at the 1792 and not go to 1855.
So we need to have an amendment to the resolution.
yeah, but is that base rate, or, way I understood it was that it is the base rate, not what we're charged for the kilowatts.
Yeah, we're not changing the usage, but he said the base rate, we're a lot higher than most places also. He pulled 10 and we're number 1 out of 10.
Yeah, if you withdraw your second, then
Most base rates are down in
you haven't approved.
the 9 to, I guess $9 to $12 range.
Yeah, so you can go back and change it.
Okay.
I withdraw my, second. I move that we amend the fee schedule resolution 2020-05-01 to eliminate the increase on the electrical and return it to its original
1792
1792
base rate.
base rate.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 5.
We have to approve the resolution now as amended.
Oh, if it's a resolution, you have to.
Oh, roll call?
All right, roll call and then,
Okay. Jim Harris.
Aye.
Jim Sheriff. Aye. Matt Gill.
Aye.
David Burton.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, move on to agenda item number 5, the airport apron rehab project bid award.
Is that, you amended the resolution, so that passes it?
Yeah, we amended it before it was voted on, therefore the vote was for the amended resolution.
For the amended resolution, thank you for the clarification.
Well, it was modified, your resolution was modified, but your resolution was never adopted yet, so there wasn't
Correct.
anything to amend.
I withdrew my second, therefore it killed that
Yeah.
first
Thank you.
one. And so then,
Amended the terms in the resolution.
Thank you.
Okay. So, are you doing number 5 then?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
As you all aware, we've been in the process of getting an apron rehab bid for our airport. They had a large packet to bid that had schedules 1 through 4. The total bids come in a little over $1 million. The total funds available were around the $750,000 mark. So the FAA is giving us a total of $733,900 is the proposed grant that they would give to us. They would adjust and do a change order. We just would not be able to do the entire apron as the original proposal was. It's around 60% of the apron would be done under this change order. What this is just simply saying is they're going to send the paperwork to the FAA to write the grant. We're not on the hook for anything until we accept and sign for the grant, until they're negotiating with the contractor. The contractor, low bid, was Sunrock. So this is just an update, and as you might have got a signature request from Mike Martz. I don't know if you've got one yet. When it's ready to be signed, the notice to proceed would be ready to be signed. It would be signed by you two electronically. So this one would be to award the bid under those terms, and our cost out of pocket, $9,352.78 would be our portion of this project.
So what wouldn't be done if, is that specified in there?
The reason we're actually having to pay something is part of our apron is not eligible for FAA funds because it's closer than 50 feet to a private hangar.
Okay. But I mean, as far as if you said that they're only going to allow up to 60% or whatever, then they're not doing partial of it, what would they kick out not doing?
They'll only do 60% of the apron.
Okay.
Instead of the entire
So the $1
apron.
million is what I'm saying, so that's whether they won't do that.
Yeah, so it'll get about...
They will not fund if it's within 50 feet of a private hangar, and we didn't know that when we...
Correct. So, the reason Schedule 3 doesn't show up on that is the majority of that was adjacent to hangars, which we would have had to get the owners to participate in something.
So that's
This one was bid as, hopefully there's all that funding, and if it's available, we could do it all. But the language in the contract allows for us to accept that and then negotiate a change order.
My only question is the apron that's gonna be done, the reduction, is it gonna meet all of the requirements and?
Yes, that includes new tie downs, it's complete rehabilitation, take up all the asphalt, grind it down. We'll determine the exact cut line, the repainting, yes.
So it'll still meet FAA guidelines?
Absolutely.
Qualify.
Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
And just as, that apron was built in two portions, so it was about a 70-30. We're not gonna quite get to that cut line, but it is gonna do 2 rows of tie downs, and And the other apron is still usable. So that would be a project, later on.
Who was the low bidder, Cleve? Sunrock? You think with oil prices the way they are, that it would come in a whole lot cheaper? Maybe somebody...
It was a surprise to everybody, I think.
Yeah.
Especially the engineers, they were...
Had empty pockets.
So this would simply need, the council's approval
To move forward with,
to allow you to sign the documents as they come in to award this grant and or to accept this grant and award this bid.
Cleve, are we okay money-wise? 'Cause isn't it about 4,000 more than we thought for our share?
On, 9,000?
Yeah.
No, we had, that was what we had for a, crack seal project for this fiscal year.
Okay.
We had budgeted, I think, we budgeted quite a substantial amount more for next year.
Okay.
This will actually come out of next year's fiscal budget.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve the airport apron rehab project bid award.
do I have a second?
I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll turn the agenda item number 6, COVID-19 update, over to Chief Berg.
Deciding if I was gonna disinfect or not. I did enough last time. First, as the chief, I just want to thank you guys for your leadership on the COVID response that we're doing, and the decisions you guys made 2 weeks ago, on how we're gonna act within our city. That's very helpful for us. When we get phone calls from citizens and complaints and different things, I mean, that's what you guys do, so thank you for that. Jess Anderson, he's the Commissioner of Public Safety for the Department of Public Safety, and he is on the COVID-19 Governor's Task Force, and he's been really good about passing information down to the law enforcement agencies about where that task force stands. They're the one that makes the recommendations to the governor and his staff. He sent us an email this morning. They've updated if you guys get on the covid.utah.gov website, and they have the classifications there, the red and, red, orange, yellow, green. They've updated the 4.5 now in the yellow, which doesn't really change a lot. But I just wanted to read a couple important ones. So this is for general public and employers. If you were to look at that on the website, this is what I'm reading under. The general public and employers take reasonable precaution. This is probably the most important one to me. Face coverings worn in public settings where social distancing measures are difficult to maintain. There is no requirements for citizens to wear face coverings. It's a recommendation. If you would like Councilmember Shurtlift, every time I've seen you in the community, you choose to wear a face covering. That's for you and your family and all that. We actually had one of our officers jumped by an out-of-town person that was traveling to Bryan Head, which they questioned, well, why are you leaving California coming to Bryan Head? But that didn't go over so well over there, but it is what it is.
Who let you through Nevada?
Yeah. So she jumped in saying, why aren't you guys are, infecting us and all this, and that is so wrong. There's no requirement. It is based on each person. The high-risk groups, obviously, we want them wearing it. Our officers and staff have the face masks. They do put it on when needed. We wear them in the medical calls. We do that kind of stuff. But it's just a recommendation. And so I just want to make that clear that all of our staff is very conscientious about this, and we are taking precautions, and we are following the rules, and especially when we're going into those that are in the high-risk areas on medical calls and different things like that.
Chief, one thing on that. So, just to clarify, private businesses, though, they can require
Correct.
people to wear masks where they can refuse service.
Correct. So we actually, I think it happened down in Cedar City the other day, where a citizen went into a business and they asked them to put a face mask on, and they refused to, and they refused them service. The person that was asked to put the mask on called the cops. The cops showed up and said, hey, guess what? They're a private business, and they get to make whatever choice they want, and they have a right to refuse service to anybody. So that is correct.
Yeah, thank you.
And there's a few businesses doing it.
Mm-hmm. That's the right.
Yeah, absolutely, great. But other than that, we haven't had a lot of complaints or anything, about the way things are going. In this email, Commissioner Anderson will not speculate, obviously, but he is saying that green is on its way. And they are seeing the science and the data is proving it. Trends are going down, just as they expected. The heat's coming up. People are being conscientious about social distancing and the crazy amount of testing that's going on. You got to understand the way that works, right? So the headline today, the Spectrum ran a headline that said, Southern Utah receives the most positive cases to date in one day. And then you got to read the article, because that was so misleading. So what the article says is they're also antibody testing. So they're actually going to require law enforcement and first responders to do antibody testing, which is great. All my guys are willing to do it. But they're taking all of those numbers and putting them into one group. So if somebody tests positive for antibodies, which means they've had it, they've recovered, and their body's fighting it, and somebody tests positive because they're sick, they're combining those numbers. And so we had 12 yesterday in Southern Utah, in our 5-county area. So understand that the data that the media is putting out isn't always correct. You want to get correct and true data, go to coronavirus.utah.gov. So, and that's it, and nothing's really changed. So, okay. Any questions?
I have.
Yeah.
So
you've already had it.
I know, and I think I've already had it. But I wanted to talk about, I've had several of your citizens contact me, just so you know, and they're really upset that the pool's not open.
Well, good for them.
And I'm just telling you. And their response was, and I think it's a good point, I'm not telling you what you should do, you do what you want, but their response was, look, and this is my question to you. They said all our kids are playing together anyway. Yep. So you're not availing anything by not keeping the pool closed, because all our kids are running around town. My observation from my own 15-year-old is, I said to him the other day, Jace, you want to go do all these things with your friends, and I come pick you up, and you're walking hand in hand with them, and you're sharing a drink.
That's just weird anyway.
If you're sick, you're going to bring it home to your mom and dad.
Yeah. Well,
he gives me a look like...
Well, let me just quickly answer that question, and here you can pass this on. The pool isn't necessarily not open because of condition yellow. The pool is not open for maintenance at this time. Yeah, and we've got so much maintenance and damaged tiles. So 2 weeks ago in council,
I wish I would have known that.
We made it really clear that we won't look at opening the pool to condition yellow, and correct me if I'm wrong, right, until that maintenance is completed, because we had a whole bunch of jagged pool edging that has to be repaired. So when that's
one guy jumped me really good. I was there on some other business, and he's like, do you know why bugs eat their young? Well, we're starting to figure it out.
So when the maintenance is completed, the council can choose at that point what you guys choose to do with your city properties in the pool. But right now the maintenance hasn't been done.
Yeah, and I think the advice from the council was, go ahead and plan on opening the pool. By the time the repairs are done, we should be in green, and the pool will be open. So we're shooting for around the 1st of June.
And I think if it doesn't go green that time, when we address the issue at that time.
I just, like he said, he jokingly said, I understand why some bugs eat their young. We're about ready to eat our young. We've had our fill of them being in the house.
There's lots of ditches around growing up. That's what we swam in.
You know, we bought a blow-up pool just for...
Go buy a little park and turn the water on and slip and slide.
Yeah. But other than that, things are really quiet. Like, the citizens are doing a great job in social distancing, and we're all set up with our social distancing here in the offices, and we're not hearing a lot of complaints, so.
Okay. Chief, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
All right, we move on to agenda item number 7, cemetery discussion.
Oh, don't touch that, Cleve.
I didn't touch it, I just...
Okay.
The cemetery discussion will be, you'll get a copy in your email of the preliminary policy and procedures, and if you would like a hard copy before you leave. So basically, item number 7, it's your homework. There's a lot of reading to do. So I could give you a hard copy if you'd like to work off of, make notes. Please be aware, in that, we did not address the problem we're having with large purchases of lots, resident, non-resident. So that will be quite a discussion item when this policy is put into...
Well, can we discuss that?
You certainly could, because I would like you to read this, but I mean, in consideration, if you want to give a resident rate, an Iron County rate, and then a non-resident rate, I don't know.
I say we have a resident rate for opening and a non-resident rate for opening. And I think we ought to keep it just 2 classifications. Makes it easier for Heather. We don't have a whole bunch of different, it's better just to keep it simple, I think.
Right. There'll probably be a lot of questions. When you read it, there'll be questions for you. Excuse me.
You said you sent this in the email?
It will be coming.
Oh.
You will be getting a copy.
I'm sorry, I was trying to find it.
Okay, yeah, you'll be getting a copy.
A hard copy would be great, Cleve.
Yeah, okay, we'll get you a hard copy after council. A lot of it, I'm sure you're well aware of the process Cedar's going through, getting all those old unused lots, and that would be kind of addressed in there, because if they have a legal error and you have to make all those legal hoops to take back possession.
Well, there's some other ways to do it. We just did it in Beaver City, and we took back a bunch of them, and there's a different way to do it than what Cedar City's doing it.
Oh, okay.
It's much easier.
Oh, it's much easier?
Frankly, I don't remember the exact procedure now, because I read it and gave tips to Anona, and once I read stuff and I don't need any more, I get rid of it. But, we can chat with Anona, but there's a process that we followed, and it was fairly easy, and we cleaned up some lots.
Okay.
Heather, just offhand, do you have any idea how many lots maybe we're looking at that would fall into that?
No.
Okay.
No, sorry, I could look into it, it would take a while.
Some of them you'll find is they were platted out a long, long time ago before they required vaults, and they said they had 8 burial sites. You can't put 8 burial sites on that now because of the state law requiring you to have that vault. So actually there's 6. I don't know how many of them we have left, but it's mostly in the old section, and there's just isolated pockets of unused onesies and twosies around, but...
I know on Memorial Day, it was former Mayor Steve Decker asked me what the process was, and I didn't know for sure, but I told him I was sure if there was no legal heir alive, it was almost like going through probate. But if Justin says it's not...
It was at one time.
Is it?
That rigorous. You had to get heirs, and it just was really a pain.
Yeah.
The state changed the law and made it a lot easier because it was ridiculous what you had to go through.
Yeah.
Maybe that will definitely help with this.
At least 100 years.
So I think we need to, whatever Justin, they did over to Beaver, we need to look at that, because I think a lot of the lots that we do have are in that same situation. All the heirs are gone.
Correct.
There's no
Some of them,
name.
that old section, really, there's some unused.
It's no problem as long as you treat all the residents there equally, so they don't commence litigation with disparate treatment.
Right. So, set down in policy.
Did anybody catch that?
All the residents that are existing there? Okay. We haven't had any yet.
Nobody was gonna get that.
If they start out
comedians out of work, and you're trying to be...
What's that?
50,000 comedians out of work, and you're...
I'm being funny.
We probably should look, Cleve, though, at family plots that have 8 and make sure the family knows they'll only take, 6 now?
Yes, if we have those conditions, we can identify them, and they're well aware.
They would start planning the use and giving them to somebody, and then we have people...
And a lot of, in this policy, it's the exchange of the burial rights have to go through the city, consider an administrative fee, $25, if you want to turn it back in. I mean, I'm just throwing numbers out here for consideration. There's by no means that's the number, but...
Well, one of the things that concerns me is that even in the old the ordinance and the policy and procedure, my reading of it, they're not allowed to privately sell burial rights back and forth.
Right. It has to,
If you sell the burial right, it comes back to Parowan City. So the exchange, I mean, we've got a notice right here in the city office of somebody selling plots. That,
right, we need to eliminate that.
Yeah,
but it's already eliminated. It says right in the old ordinance that it comes back to the city.
Right, they can walk in and have them changed by the city. I don't know how to stop them
The old
from...
way was that you could take the plots back, and I'm just trying to remember, it's been a long time ago since we looked at it, because we looked at doing this once in Parowan City, probably 10 years ago, Judy, right? And you could take the plots back, but then you had to make the plot available to the family member in the event that someone came forward and said, I was supposed to be buried in this cemetery, and I own a plot, and you took it back, and so you kind of did it in reservation. Then you had to hold the money a certain way, and when you reserved it, and a few other things,
And I think it's changed since then, hasn't it?
No, but my point is not the heirs, but I've got 2 lots. I've
seen that, I have 2 lots I want to sell.
Sell them for $600 apiece. When in fact, those plots, if they want to sell them, they would come back to Parowan City, and Parowan City would pay them what they paid.
It could, if a resident buys a plot at $350 and tries to sell it for $600, I don't think that's right.
I'm not aware of anything that would prevent the city from enacting an ordinance that says, if you choose to sell it, remember, you don't own the lot anymore.
No,
It is in the ordinance right now. It has to go through this process.
Be a deed, but you don't get a deed anymore.
Just
So
get a certificate.
I think it's just fine for the city. I'm not aware of anything that prevents the city from imposing an ordinance that says, if you wish to take it back, then we will pay you back the amount of money and sell it to someone else. But if the city doesn't have that ordinance, I'm not aware of anything that says a person couldn't sell their plots, but, you know.
Our old ordinance says that they can.
Resale of lots. The proceeds from subsequent resale of any lot or parcel to which have been reverted to Parowan City shall be deposited, upon adequate proof and presentation of certificate of title or right to burial to Parowan City for any lot or parcel which has been reverted to Parowan City at the option of Parowan City to be compensated for the lot, receive the right of burial in another lot or parcel, and receive the right to burial lot or parcel if the municipality has not sold the right to the burial on that lot or parcel. So the lot, if they are not being used, they can't sell them to the public. They have to be sold back to Parowan City.
I think the transfer of rights should have to go back through the city.
Again, I'm not aware of anything that would say that the city couldn't impose that type of an ordinance.
That's what we're suggesting in this policy.
That's what we want.
That they could certainly
Sell it back to
they could sell it back to Parowan, or they could say, I'm giving this person this, they walk in, they pay the administrative fee, and they change the burial rights certificate into that name. Because if they want to just will it to them free, they would just have to come to Parowan City and say...
Yeah, but what would prevent them from selling it and then just coming into Parowan City and saying...
Well, they would have a right that doesn't have their name on it.
Well, yeah, so we have a certificate. If they tried to come in and say, well, I bought this plot, our response would be, can't do that, we're not changing the name.
Okay.
That's why it's gotta come back through the city, is to have the name on the certificate.
Okay.
But we would like that's spelled out in this too.
Yeah, and the police department will get a call saying that the guy brought them out of $600. Guaranteed. Well,
So then we'll have to bury him there.
There's a second comedian in there.
Yeah, so this is a lot of, there'll be a lot of reading and,
I think let's go over it, all of us, and then we ought to have a work meeting and maybe before.
yeah, let you read it.
I was just gonna say, the bottom line is, there's so much room up there. We're running out of room. that cemetery, I had people approach me all Memorial Weekend wondering, what are we gonna do to prevent the people from out of town coming and taking up all the plots, so there's no one here for, no place for anyone here to be buried. So I think that's the bottom line. We need to make it so that that cemetery is available for Parowan residents, and we need to make it very unattractable for outside people.
We've had this discussion, you and I, David, and I agree 100%. I mean, we've all seen the tremendous number of burials in the last, what we've done,
It shouldn't be.
300 veterans funerals since
2006.
Yeah, I mean,
It shouldn't be a point of speculation.
Exactly.
People, buy it for speculative purposes. It never should be that. Never should be that. It should be more, respect and reverence, but, I guess,
Do we really have a lot of people from out of town buying these?
oh boy. Yeah.
Aren't from here?
They're getting a deal. That's the whole thing. They're just getting a place, they have no rhyme or reason, just a cheap place to be buried.
So they're not from here, they're
No.
they have no ties whatsoever.
No.
Well, then I guess, again, I'm not sure, in all honesty, what you can do there, because I haven't ever researched that issue, but I'm not sure under the, Commerce Clause and the Interstate Commerce Clause that you can charge different amounts to out-of-state residents, or
We have a resident and non-resident rate.
do we?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they do it with hunting licenses and everything. I mean, yeah.
I understand. Just telling you that there's,
I talked to some elected officials from other municipalities, and they've taken a stance where they are not pre-selling lots anymore. They're just doing it on an when you die, you get a place.
Yeah.
They're not pre-selling.
Diane, do you want to come up to the mic?
so you don't have any family,
I guess you can't choose, I don't know.
have any family
Wow.
rooms of,
Plots,
No, 'cause they're running, just like here, you're running out of room, so you have,
gonna sell it as come as needed.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna throw a curveball. Okay, we have our plots at the cemetery, and my mother and father-in-law are buried there. And then next to them, we have a plot. Then our daughter is buried in the middle, and then we have another plot. So, if Jerry and I wanted to be cremated, and not necessarily be buried, just cremated, do something with our ashes, then and I'm going to ask you two different scenarios. Could we give our plots to our son and daughter-in-law if they wanted them? Or who would want to buy two plots with somebody they don't know in the middle? You
When
see
you're
what I'm
buried, you don't care, Diane.
Oh, yeah, there'd be people.
saying? Does that happen?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because you can put two, for example, you could put two urns in one space.
Oh, if you wanted, could you really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
That's part of the policy would call out, you could have a standard traditional burial, and you still have room to place two urns
On top.
on top of the traditional burial. You could have 3 names associated with that gravesite. So that's one of the things that we're trying to spell out in this policy, how that would work, maximum amount. So that would be, pardon? Oh, so that would be one of the things we want to make very clear, is that you could do that because cremation has become quite the normal.
I have a client that is, just curiosity, I'm wondering if it's in there. I have a client that informed me that she has 2 cats that she's had cremated, and her ashes, those cats will be buried with her ashes when she...
That is spelled out, it is for 100% human in the policy, and you read right there in the ordinance. Yeah, and it's in the ordinance too, it has to be human.
That's it?
No,
It has to be human remains. But
Well,
if that was the case and it came in an urn and it was, when it's,
She's already got 2 urns for her cats, and she put specifically in the will, and I said to her, that's interesting, that's all I said, 'cause I have no idea how that one plays
yeah,
out.
human remains, or, human term only.
The ordinance.
The only thing I would like to see is non-residents, let's say if you got a kid or somebody that went out of the area, you have a couple, he passes away, but no, it's out of state and come back here, I don't want to make it not feasible for him to do it, you know what I'm saying? If he's got ties, or that person has got ties here,
That's probably been, that when this discussion happens, every time we have this discussion, that's what divides the council. The citizens that are here now, the children that are gone, the ties coming back, that gets
that's where it gets
pretty in-depth discussion, yes.
That's why it's gotta be clear,
Define the citizen, and so if I may, I'm reading a lot of information. I mean, this would clarify, read through that, please, and see what recommendations, and then if we have to discuss it item by item, I would love to, because you're bringing up topics that are spelled out already.
that are in the email that we're gonna...
That are gonna be in that proposed draft. So, and then, at our next council meeting, let's take that work meeting and we'll go through it on each one of them. Especially, let Justin look at any legals that are in there. So, this is plagiarized information, so to speak.
Would this be a time to look at any potential expansion opportunities up there?
You could, but there is no expansion. Unless you remove
probably have to
that
do
hill.
a site, wouldn't you?
You'd have to remove that red hill, and there's...
What about
as far as different...
that on the northwest corner?
Northwest corner.
Where they're putting a fence around?
No, the northwest corner.
Northwest.
As you go in.
Yeah, well,
As you go in the yard.
if that was the case, we would have leveled it out and changed that before we put the fence in.
No, I'm talking inside the grass area.
Inside? Oh, where the old flagpole was?
With the
Yeah.
future veterans...
That could be within there, yes,
That's what I'm talking, is that.
that may,
Do you know how many sites are still available?
couldn't tell you.
Is that private property?
Because, are we wondering if how close are we getting to be maxed out?
I guess you could.
I couldn't give you a specific number, but this is gonna be a
The Osceola,
hot topic.
what's his name?
So that new area that you're fencing can't be,
There's some utilities and whatnot down in there, sure, it's possible.
I'm just looking that way out,
Yeah, I'm thinking you'll probably see a different location altogether, because
But that inside, I've heard different things about that, a lot of things that I don't think are relevant, but, I've heard...
I've probably heard the same thing.
I've heard things from people being buried there to boulders to whatever, but I think that can all be addressed,
That could definitely be addressed.
yeah. What do you think, Kelly?
It most certainly would be challenging.
You can definitely open it, you can do whatever you'd like to do.
Yeah.
You'd have to put a note, set things out there. I think it's,
Yeah.
Bottom line, there's not a lot
To project it, the current rate, when we're gonna be up against it? If the,
There's no way to project that. I don't know.
is that, you haven't opened that up on the very end, have you?
We've got one more small, far south, correct?
Yeah.
Section
So you don't open them unless, what, 80% of the plots are sold?
Yeah, so when A opened, they had to sell 80% before B opened, and so then we have 80% of those sold, we can open C.
But, you know, Memorial Day, there was a lot of people, of course, there, but, and hey, you guys need to be commended on the cemetery. It was really in excellent shape. It really looked nice, and everybody that participated, and then Jim, you guys that did the veterans, the crosses and the flags.
That was Kristen Robinson.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, Kristen Robinson, and that, they all need to be commended.
Keith,
But the whole-
Keith and his wife,
nice.
Stubbs,
But that's why people want it, 'cause it is a very...
yeah, but it needs to be
appealing,
the
but-
citizens of Parowan.
Exactly, but that's just it. I can't tell you how many people came up to me and says, "What are you gonna do about it?" I mean, they said it that way, bluntly, and like, you know, what's your answer?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we can get it addressed with this new policy.
Okay, so I guess we just need to wait for the email then.
You'll get an email, and so I didn't know if you'd like a hard copy of the draft to work off of, obviously. Jim's like me, Councilman Harris.
Could I get one of those?
Absolutely, I'll make you one. I like to make notes, I'm not a typist, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Thank you.
Hey, can you send us, a copy of yours, you know, the changes that you suggest, that,
Oh, yes, as I go through it, and again...
on the ordinance that you went through and...
Oh, on the ordinance? Oh, where I can see that the policy conflicts directly with the ordinance, where it's addressed in the policy that the ordinance would need to be amended, well, certainly.
Yeah, I want a copy of that if
Yeah.
I can. 'Cause you did a lot of work on that, and we need to have our policies and procedures in line with our ordinance.
Correct, so there's not a conflict there.
All right.
Okay, thanks, Cleve.
Thanks, Cleve.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 8. Jim Harris, do you have any reports?
No, I don't.
Okay, Jim Shirley.
Cleve, do I mention our conversation today with, Jeff, or
Mr. Adams?
you, Mr. Adams?
You could, because there's kind of, the Jesse Smith home has come up.
Yeah, we were in discussion with, Jeff Adams, representing the Jesse and Smith Family Trust. Had a good discussion with Cleve, and I was just sitting there with him. It looks like we've got a possibility of getting the city out from under the maintenance and while still maintaining. It was a very informative discussion from my perspective, and Cleve came away feeling like this was a good avenue to pursue, and so we're doing that.
Can I elaborate on that?
Absolutely.
One of his proposals for the group, the Jesse and Smith group, would take financial responsibility for the landscape maintenance during the year, pay the utilities. So basically, we would draft an agreement, I don't want to say lease, but some type of agreement that they...
Memorandum of understanding.
Something that we, with that 501(c), and they would like to take care of all that. And basically, we have zero liability, financial...
What about them taking the home back?
They wouldn't go that far.
Not yet.
It's still in discussion, but
I don't know what that group is, but that relieving us of
the financial burden, I thought Cleve was going to jump out of his chair.
To that extent, why not go the full distance?
Yeah.
It's a good first step.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Hopefully the
Right.
second...
Well, I think what they might be looking at is, there is a certain amount of stability in the city owning the property that takes that burden away from the foundation. As long as they've got the money and they're willing to do the maintenance and the utilities, and
we're having we'll have a meeting next week for the historical committee for, new fencing. They want to do new fencing completely around it. They'd like to do all new landscaping. They would like to do some trees. They're gonna get with John and see what trees we prefer in there and place.
They
really wanna.
What are they doing there now? I noticed they're working.
Fence, they had it surveyed, basically our property. They paid for the survey, removed it,
A dead tree.
the big pine tree that was right up against the home that was, everybody was concerned because it started leaning and farther away from the home, and we didn't know what the root ball would be, so that was finally removed. And they would like to pay for and install fence around the entire portion. So.
Was Larry's crew just doing demo, or are they gonna do the new fence for him?
They were doing the demo. Once they get the go-ahead, I don't think they'll be doing the fencing.
Okay.
But they was doing some of the repairs. I think they're gonna do some of the shingle repairs. There's some repairs to some windows, that they're suggesting, and,
That's good.
yeah.
But it was a good discussion.
It was encouraging.
Thanks, Clint.
Great.
Thank you.
No other meetings, I would like to echo what Dave said about how well the cemetery looked. And we really need to tell Kristen how much we appreciate all her work.
Yeah, and that's volunteer work.
That is 100%, except I think she forces her kids to come. I know she forces Larry to come up there and help, so.
Forced labor.
Yeah, but.
We do appreciate it.
Oh, it's amazing what they do up there, and, my kids, Heather's kids. But anyway, it looked good, and I really hated not having the program, but I also think we did the right thing.
I think it was a good call not to have it. Yeah.
I think we had to do it, but anyway, I thought it was, it looked really good, and tell the crew, except for Justin, tell him that, it looked really good.
Well, and hopefully by next year, things will be back to normal.
Let's hope so.
Keep our fingers crossed. Matt, do you have anything?
I do.
Okay. David, do you have anything? Yeah, we met, we didn't meet as a committee, but that shade tree, there's a group that wants to get the trees over at that Meeks Pond planted back. We kinda went over that. They're gonna meet next Thursday, the shade tree committee officially, so hopefully we'll get that ironed out. But there's some that wanna contribute time and money, and so hopefully we'll get some of those trees taken care of. And then, of course, you, planning and zoning, you approved the minor lot split, but if the council has no objection, I'd like the planning and zoning committee to take that, proposal that we were given last council meeting from Mr. Horton and Mr. Tanner, on that creation of the road, on that city property off from 2nd North over by the ball field. And I let them review it, make sure that there isn't any problems or whatever, and get that, ironed out, and then send it back to the council for action. If the council doesn't have any problem with that, that's what I'd like to recommend.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it.
Do I have to have a resolution?
I don't think so, not on that, just
So,
tell
put it
them
on the planning and zoning's agenda and
Yeah.
do it, okay.
Okay, anything else, Dave?
No, thank you.
Okay, Cleve, do you have anything else? Justin, do you have anything? Okay. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 11, adjournment. Do I have a motion?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks again for everybody coming out tonight.